what I'm feeling. I don't know if I'm breathing when you are with me. My heart is beating. I am stuck in the dreaming. I can't help what I'm feeling. I don't know. I have the strangest feeling. Don't know what to believe in. Cause every time you touch me, I can't control my body. Oh, baby, you are on my mind. All I think about, and I don't wanna stop. I don't wanna stop. Could you come closer to me? I just can't resist you. I'm giving up. I'm giving up. I am stuck in a dreaming. I can't help what I'm feeling. I don't know if I'm breathing when you are with me. My heart is beating. I am stuck in a dreaming. I can't help what I'm feeling. I don't know. I have the strangest feeling. Don't know what to believe in. Cause every time you touch me, I can't control my body. Oh, baby, you are on my mind. All I think about, and I don't wanna stop. I don't wanna stop. Could you come closer to me? I just can't resist you. I'm giving up. I'm giving up. I am so
more about how to leverage YouTube. Tom was nice enough to be on one of our recent episodes of the Lighten Up podcast. Super insightful. Actually, the first episode that we record on a Saturday, and me and Kira were a little bit worried. Saturday morning, by the way, we were a little bit worried that our energy would be low, but Tom definitely performed, brought a ton of value to that podcast. So we thought nothing made more sense than just to have him come back and lead a webinar for us. Of course, the difference between the webinar and the podcast is the webinars are going to be a little bit more interactive, questions and answers, of course. So super excited to share all of your insight with our listeners. So I'll let you do a quick intro for yourself and then go from there.
Yeah, thanks, guys. So my name's Tom Storey. I've been selling real estate for this is year 9, so going into a decade. I'm located in Toronto, Canada. We actually have the biggest real estate board in the world. We have 80,000 people with real estate licenses on the Toronto Real Estate Board. It is massive. And there are obviously a lot of us, and we are not building a lot of new homes. So listings become sparse, right? And I think the math last year was like, if you average it all out, the average realtor sold 3 homes a year. And I think you got to get to like 15 to actually get the certificate to say you can actually tell people you're a realtor, right? But in my first year, I wasn't doing that. And then what I think happened and why I think today will be so cool for people is like, I think it's easy to have a good year in real estate. I think like a lot of people went through 2021 and were like, you know what? I'm good at this. Yeah, I don't need to do anything new. I figured this out. But really, a lot of that was just falling on your lap. And like, this isn't professional sports, so you can't just have one good year and then get a big contract and kind of mail it in, right? You better show up every single day moving forward. And I think, last year was probably a wake-up call to a lot of people. So what you guys are seeing in the States is the same thing here. Our interest rates we're just following the Fed, right? We're just following right behind. And our sales dropped off by 50% last year. And so there's less of a pie available. And that's why today, what I really want to go through with you guys is like one specific way that you can generate new business. Because if you do the same things to your database, you're going to get good return, which is where everyone should be spending most of their time. But mathematically, it's going to be less than the years prior because there's less opportunity. So that's what I'm going to go into today is just like, you want to sell an extra 15 homes a year. I can show you a template that I can guarantee will do it. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. 2021 was a year where people just had literally, who was it, Kira? Robbie T was saying that we were all playing basketball in like a little Tykes hoop.
Yep, that was Robbie.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden in 2022, they just raised the hoop. And now all of a sudden we're figuring out who has the skills to actually hit those shots. And,
Yep.
you know, yeah,
It's
so many different
interesting.
analogies. It's interesting. Go ahead.
One thing I'll say is that Tom, you're the first international guest we've had on this webinar.
Oh,
And I'm
fancy.
curious, yep. Out of all the viewers, how many do we have from Canada, and how many do we have from the States? We have a chat box which you'll be putting in your questions in. If you could just say where you're from, we can give a shout out to you guys as this goes through, which would be awesome. We have the Lisa Abbott team. I'm not sure if
Nice.
is that from
Yeah.
Canada?
Yeah, Durham region, just outside Toronto. Yeah,
Nice. You have a lot of your competitors on viewing today, by the way. So
That's fine
I hope
with me,
you're gonna
man.
be forthcoming with a lot of the information as well.
you know, the reality is, I can give you all the information. It's still hard work. You still got to do
Yeah.
it. So I don't
Right.
care. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. As it's going through, so Tom, if you want to walk us through, I know you had a presentation prepped and everything from there. We have another one,
Yeah.
Jackie Wood, Real Estate Canada.
Nice.
Another Canada.
Nice.
it
Hopefully, I'm
It
bringing
seems to
some
be only the
Canadians over.
Canadians are
They're nice.
responding. here.
Another one.
Yeah, they're
Ontario,
proud. They're proud to say they're there. You know.
Ottawa. We got Paul Hartfield. We got Matt Robinson.
Nice.
Halton
Yeah. I
Holmes.
know all these people. That's nice that they showed up. Yeah.
Sweet. All right, cool, man.
This
Let's
is
do
this
it.
is all your extended family, right?
Basically, yeah. The network runs big in Canada. We're all, and you
Coming
know
out
what's
to
funny?
support.
Like, you guys know this too. Real estate industry is actually kind of small. Like, the people that want to learn and connect and go, it's like a small group that, you know, that you guys are obviously way bigger, but like, you're interacting with the same people all the time, right?
Yeah, you don't realize how small it is, and then that's what's interesting too about platforms like Instagram and such. And we'll reference people. Like when we had you on the podcast and we were talking about all the people I already saw that were mutual connections, and then there was people that you knew of that you hadn't necessarily met, but that were close with us. And yeah, it's huge, but it's small at the same time. So listen,
Totally.
these Americans don't have the patience that the Canadians have, so we'll let you jump in and get rolling here,
Okay.
man.
All right,
Awesome.
cool.
We're
All right,
excited to hear your story.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen and do some slides with you guys. At any point, like if people have questions, you guys want to stop me, just stop me and let's chat through it. Okay, so let's jump into it. You guys can see this, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can on our side.
All good? Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to go over for the next, let's call it half an hour to 40 minutes, however long, we want to get into it, is just how to actually leverage YouTube. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong about YouTube. I used to think it was a platform in which you put your listing videos or market updates so they would show up on your website. That's all it was for me. And I even remember like 5 years ago, people in the industry saying like, should I post things on YouTube? I'm like, it's kind of a waste. Focus on Facebook. And I was like, could not have been more wrong. And when I talk to some agents, because doing video is one thing, right? It's like, but I don't want you just to do video for the sake of like feeding your ego, right? I'd rather you do video to feed your business, right? Because there's lots of traps you can fall into, and we'll get into TikTok today. And I'm not saying bad things about TikTok. All I'm saying is like, it will get you feeling good, but I'm not necessarily so sure it will make you sell as many homes as YouTube will if you're doing it correctly. And it's also the type of content, and I'm going to show you like actual results and one thing that I always make clear at the beginning of every talk that I do is anything that I'm telling you today is not based on like a hunch or a theory. This is like, I've done it and I have the result, or someone else has done it. I've learned from them. Then I've tried it. And like, I have enough proof to know that it's actually going to work. If you think, okay, Tom, I make YouTube videos. I made like, the 5 reasons why I'm a great real estate agent and people should work with me, but no one gives a crap about that. Nobody cares. Like, you're not solving a problem for them, right? All you're doing is making yourself feel good, but no one's going to watch that. No one cares. Like, tell them something about the market. So, and I'll give you examples today of the type of videos, if you're starting from scratch, what you can do. I think it's also important to say that if you look at my YouTube channel, I've got like just under 9,000 subscribers. So I don't have 1 million. I don't have 200,000. I'm not working with crazy numbers here, but I'm working with like a base of people that know who I am, that come back week after week and watch my content. And literally, just to give you guys some examples of like how powerful this can be, the other week I was driving to the office. I was at a red light. I was the first car at the red light, and this guy, it's like an area of Toronto that maybe like if someone's running up to you at a red light, you like lock your door, you know, but he's like, he like points at me.
We've got plenty of
like,
areas like that over here.
Yeah. And I'm like, what's he pointing at? And then I like put down my window. I'm like, hey, he's like, dude, you make awesome YouTube videos. I'm like, thank you. You made my day. And then I go to the hockey game that night. I go to the Leafs game and I'm walking down my row and this guy stops me. He's like, Tom? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I watch you on YouTube. I'm like, cool. Nice to meet you. But like, it's crazy how what started from me shooting videos in my basement where like 6 people would watch them to getting to a point that when people see you, they're compelled to actually be like, hey, I know you. Yeah. And that's just on the people that haven't even reached out, that are just viewing it. It's the people that reach out. And that's what we're going to get into next, is like, here's the results that are real, that have actually happened. I'd say I'm like 2 years into taking this seriously and having a plan. But before that, I was kind of just throwing videos out into the abyss once every month and a half, getting 0 results, because if you don't have the consistency, it's not going to work. Yeah. Okay. So I want to give you some cold hard data and show you what has this done for my business. Now, these numbers are on top of my repeat and referral, my strategic alliances. This is brand new. These are people that I didn't know existed until they reached out to me. So this is 2022 numbers. We did 84 appointments, and I'll show you how you can get the appointments, how you have to have a strong call to action, which turned into 27 firm sales. Now, I'm not selling multi-million-dollar stuff here in Toronto, but the average sale price was $600,000 to $800,000, right? A lot of condos downtown. And I posted 55 videos last year. My goal this year is to post way more than that, but in 2022 it was 55 videos. Calculate all those videos, now them all up. I did just under 500,000 views and just over $300,000 in GCI on top of what I was doing before. And like,
what time frame is that, Tom?
That was 1 year. That was just in 2022. So 365 days, having a plan in place and doing it.
So is that fair to say about 1 video a week?
Yeah. 1 video a week. My goal this year is 1 video every 5 days, trying to get there a bit more often. If you break it down even more, this is like the coolest part to me, is each video I posted last year ended up being worth $6,000 to my business in earned income. Now, obviously you get the lead, you still got to go do the work, right? And each video I posted averaged out 2.5 appointments. So if you're ever having those days, you're like the last thing I want to do is film a video today, just realize that like you're being paid for it. You just don't know it yet. Yeah. And these numbers will obviously go down significantly if you just stop doing it. And then I broke it down even more. And this one I thought was like the funniest, is like each view I got was worth 69 cents. That's 69 cents Canadian. So it's probably like, you know, I don't even know. American. Not much. Our dollar's not doing so hot right now. But just to show you, of that. Yeah. So just to show you from the beginning that like, I promise this works. This isn't like some theory or rah or fluff. This is like, it will work, but you have to put in the work. We had talked about from the very beginning that you can complicate real estate all you want. Like there's basically 3 ways you can do business. You can get repeat business, right? Your past client that's using you again. You can get referrals. A referral could be from your database, from, you know, your network, from Facebook, from another realtor outside your marketplace, from a mortgage broker, from a lender. You guys call them loan officers, I think. So it, you know, your strategic alliance, like that's basically going to be the core of most people's business. And then when you look at new business, you got to break that down as well and go like, okay, well, if I'm trying to add new blood into my business, because the perfect model would be 33% repeat, 33% referral, 33% new. That means that your business will continue to grow every year, and that new then becomes repeat and referral, right? So if you're just doing repeat and referral, you'll get lower results this year than you did previously. It's just like mathematically what's going to happen. Then you take new business, you go like, okay, well, how can I get new business? You can do open houses, right? But that is lots of time, but zero money, right? But lots of time, and people come to you. So that's great. You can do online lead generation through Facebook ads or many of the companies out there that will do it for you. And that works, but you better have an ISA. You better have a really good follow-up plan. And even if you're really good at it, you're converting at what, 3-4%. So it's a lot of money and time you can put into it. You can go old school and do direct mail farming, which still works, but it's very, very expensive. The cost per sale is very, very high. Or you can look at social media and specifically look at YouTube, because I'll be honest with you, like for the first 4 to 5 months, even if you put out 2 videos a week, you will not magically get a bunch of deals on your table. That's not how it works. But a good example is the podcast that I do. My co-host, Steve Karish, he's just outside Vancouver. Now he started YouTube after me. He's now past me in subscribers. He started by doing 3 videos a week, getting under 1,000 views every video. And then he puts out one video, which was like a throwaway video, and it did 220,000 views, and he gained 2,500 subscribers in one day. So it's like, you don't know what's going to kiss the algorithm and just like bless your video. You know, you just got to put it out. And it's usually the video you don't work that hard on that is the one that does the best. That's always how it works, right?
And
so we've
heard that from so many people, whether it's Instagram Reels or YouTube videos or YouTube Shorts.
Yes.
Usually people are like, the one that I didn't think would hit, or the one that I didn't really love was the one that hit.
It's weird how it happens, right? Like I worked so hard on videos that get no response. And I put one out about some silly topic and like people love it. They eat it up. So I can't tell you today what type of videos are going to work because I have no clue, because like you just got to keep trying it, right?
But a lot of it, like you said, is the name on brain, right? So you impacted that guy that jumped in front of your car. You also impacted the guy that was in your aisle at the Leafs game, right?
Yeah.
But then they may not have even liked it. They may not have subscribed to your channel, but they saw it. So
they saw it.
You don't know who you're getting in front of. It's just, you have to keep putting it out there.
My favorite thing about video is that everybody is silently watching. Most people that like your stuff don't comment on it, don't tell you they watched it. They move on with their day. It's only the people that don't like what you put out that feel the need to say, this sucks, you suck, right? But they're a very small portion. And just because they're the loudest doesn't mean they should get the most amount of your attention, right? And what's cool is like when you think online leads, how we've been told online lead works is, okay, it's a stranger. They're reaching out for a property probably, or like a lead magnet. You're giving them something of value for their email, and then you reach out. But you got to win them over, and it takes time, and it's a low conversion rate. These online leads, I'm converting 30% of them into firm sales. They feel like they already know me when they call me. And even a lot of them, like I had one this morning, and he's like, hey, I own this house. It was in a market like an hour and a half from Toronto. I'm like, I don't service that area, but I'm happy to connect you with someone that I know that does. So a 25-point referral out that I don't even have to think about, because I'm just generating, right? This is a book I'd highly recommend for anyone that really wants to like think about this in a scientific way at how to figure out how to make this work. It's by Daryl Eves. It's called The YouTube Formula. I just want to quickly go over this sentence here, this paragraph. So if you're getting started on YouTube, do not expect to pull any type of viewership in your first year. If this isn't something you can accept, don't start, right? So right off the bat, it's like, you're going to have to put in work here. If you can, you'll need to do this. Make 100 videos. It doesn't matter if they're what they are, because they're going to be terrible, right? But if you keep doing something you like, your first 10 videos will be garbage, your next 10, and so I'm going to paraphrase here. We'll get to the end of it. Essentially, what they're saying is like, it's going to take 100 videos for you to actually feel comfortable. If you go back and they exist, go to the beginning of my YouTube channel, look at my market update videos. I'm like full suit and tie, so nervous, looking at my paper in front of me, like my eyebrows aren't moving. I'm like, my soul was sucked out of me, right? And now it's like,
few of our podcasts, I was half in the bag, man. I probably had 3 whiskeys before we filmed those podcasts because I was so nervous about what I was going to say, what I was not going to say.
Yeah. It's so funny. And then I stopped. Like now I just sit down and like talk, and I don't cut it if I make a mistake. I just talk, and then we'll go in and edit it afterwards. And what's kind of cool is this entire quote is from this guy, right? So for anyone to give advice on YouTube, Mr. Beast is probably the one you should actually listen to. Right? Fastest growing channel on YouTube. I'm not sure how many millions is that now, over 100 million. This quote comes from him. And I'll tell you guys and everyone watching this, anyone that you look up to, probably in our industry that's doing good video content, I bet they've posted more than 100 videos. I bet they're not on like video 6 and you're like, oh, that guy's awesome or that girl's awesome. It's like they've gone through the reps. They sucked and then they got better. And people probably made fun of them at the beginning for it also, but they didn't care. They just kept going. And then it gets to the point that people make fun of you. And then they're like, wait a sec, what camera do you use? Like, can you show me how to edit?
A lot of times
Like,
you hate these people before you like them.
yeah, right.
I remember like Conor McGregor back in the day, seeing
Uh-huh.
him fight. I'd be like, who is this bastard? He just keeps talking shit. He's always talking smack. He's coming out there with those stupid suits. And now I'm like, oh, I wonder where he got that suit from. This guy's good.
Yeah.
He's good. And then I went and bought his book. And it's just, sometimes they annoy you before you really, really jump in.
That's it, right? It's just so funny how it works. Like, you just got to grab the people's attention in whatever way that you think. And again, it has to be good content, right? It can't be crap. You got to be saying things that make sense. And even if you're like so nervous and you don't want to post any videos, film yourself talking about your market, because if you do that, you're going to become a better real estate agent. Because you're going to have to do your research. You're going to have to know what you're talking about. And even like for this, like, I don't have scripts for anything I do on YouTube. I have like 3 bullet points. If I was doing this podcast with you guys and I was reading a teleprompter, I would suck. But but just because I can talk, it's a lot easier for me. But then there's some people that need to follow the script and are really good doing it that way. So there's no like right or wrong. It's just the consistently doing it. I want to then show you kind of how this whole system works, like what you have to have set in place here. My only goal putting a video on YouTube is that someone then books an appointment with me to Calendly. So this was the numbers from 2022. This is the 2023 numbers so far. I actually got to update this. It's more than this now. But like, this works. It works. It's crazy how much is happening. Now, if you look at like, okay, well, and by the way, if you're not using Calendly or something like it, like, it's like $8 a month. Just buy it. It's the best thing ever. This will be the first link in the description of my video. And it will say, if you want to book an appointment with me, go to the link below. I'll show you what it looks like. And if you want, like, I can do it live for you here. Like, this is what every video, the call to action would be. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed today's video or learned anything new, all I ask is that you hit that like button and subscribe and join our growing community. Also, if you have any questions specifically for me, you can go to the first link in the description and book an appointment at a time that works for you. Like, you can tell I've done that 400 times. It's like, right, you just go into like muscle memory. But I've heard some other people talk about YouTube and say like, never do a call to action. It's salesy, but like, that's casual. It's not like, yeah, I'm a great realtor, click below and I'll come list your house now and give you a CMA. And like, no, just like, if you want to talk to me, you can go into that link and it connects with my actual calendar. So when they're booking in times, is at times that I'm going to be available.
Yeah. If you guys haven't used Calendly, it just gives you almost access to Tom's calendar, shows you when he has some openings, and you can just pick a date and time that works for you. It's great. I had 2 of these today already. Like, and they were both booked yesterday. It's like, so I don't even know. I just like look at my phone sometimes, like, oh, okay, I have a seller appointment today, which is like the coolest feeling, right? Yeah. Right. And I think there's something we said there too. I know we have a mutual connection, Jazz Dakar, who was also on the podcast. He was saying, because he's getting a lot of business from his YouTube channel as well. He's like, John and Kiro, you know, when we talked to him on the podcast, he's like, the tables have turned. He's like, when people have found me on YouTube and they're seeking me out, I have so much leverage, right? And that's the title of today's webinar, right? Leveraging YouTube. So he's leveraging YouTube to have, you know, more control of that conversation when you're sitting down with the seller, right? Whether that means commission, term of the agreement, list price, you have control in those situations when the people are seeking you out.
Well, they already feel like they know you, right? And if you really break it down in real estate, there's 2 types of leads you can get. You can get you business, where they want you in the property secondary, or you can get property leads, which is, I want to see this house, get me into it. Like, if I could choose one, I take the you lead, right? It's just, it's easier business. And what's kind of cool is like when they reach out, and Jazz has obviously experienced this as well, they're like genuinely excited to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I watch your videos, man. What's up? I'm like, what's up? Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, it's like weird. They're like putting you on this miniature pedestal. And it's so weird that like in this business, you can have people be attracted to you and want you to come help them buy and sell real estate. It's like, I'm not going after people. I'm not knocking on doors. I'm not picking up my phone, calling people. They are coming to me and saying, hi, I'm ready now. I've watched you for 6 months. Can you help me?
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's Tom, will you share how old you are?
I'm 31.
31. So you're a young guy. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but I feel like if somebody met you just over the phone, met you out in front of a property, and they see how young you are, they're like, shit, this guy's young. I don't know if he necessarily knows what he's doing. You know, is he really going to be the best negotiator? How long has he been doing this? I know there's younger agents on our team that have that going through their head all the time. But in your scenario, if they're meeting you on YouTube, they're like, forget that. This guy knows what he's talking about. I've seen 1,700 of his market updates. I've seen how he negotiates. I've seen how he talks. You know, he dresses professionally. He comes, you know, bringing value every day. So interesting way to look at it.
And like, listen, I started when I was 22. So you think I look young now? Like you should have seen how I started, right? Like I'm actually, it's not that I'm ever not gracious or happy that this happens, but sometimes when someone reaches out to me and has no clue who we are, and I go do the listing presentation, I'm like, oh, that was actually really hard because they don't care who the hell you are or what you've done. Yeah. It's like, cause you get kind of used to like repeat referral in the online stuff where they're like, I know you, let's just do this thing. But then you go through one, you're like, okay, you know, I gotta be sharp today because they don't know. And when I'm sitting down with a husband and wife, like you said, even now they're looking at, I can tell they look at each other and they're like, all right, let's see what this kid says. Yeah. And then you can win them over with your knowledge, but it's not like a guarantee when you walk in that door.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to share these numbers. This is the last 365 days of the channel. So you can see just over 8,000 subscribers. I think it's up a little bit since I took that screenshot. About 550,000 views, 35,000 hours of watch time. I don't know what the math is on how many years that is. Like maybe 4.5, 5 years or something crazy. So just to put that into context, somebody somewhere at some point, total hours watched of me talking about real estate was 35,000 hours last year. Like, that's insane. How what other way? And I don't like promote my videos. This is all organic. Yep. Isn't it like it? That's just so crazy that like, and most of my videos are like 5 to 7 minutes long. They're not like hour long. So this builds up faster. Like, you know, you gotta go through it. And you can see that of my 8,000 subscribers, 5,000 of them came in just last year. Cause that's when I started taking this seriously. Like I really built it up, and YouTube will pay you a little bit of money. You can see the $3,000 they paid me last year. So if you're getting into YouTube for AdSense money, don't, because it's not good. 500,000 views is $3,000. But I could pay me nothing. I wouldn't care about this. All I care about is the actual setting up of the appointments. I wanted to quickly, because I thought this was kind of interesting, like go over the options that we have for social media right now and what maybe you could look at it as a realtor. I think Twitter is like possibly the most negative place on the internet other than Reddit. I think most people go there to be mean and have mean thoughts. And I think as a real estate agent, you can have your opinions on Twitter, but people will come after you and you better have thick skin. You better be ready for it. I decided that's not a good place for my mental health and my real estate business. Not a good place to be. I'm not saying you shouldn't be there. What I will say is that I think that Twitter is perfect for all the news journalists in your market. They are there and they are watching you. And if you follow them and send them messages and have opinions about the market, if you want to get into your local news, Twitter is the easiest way to do so if you don't have a connection. So it can be used well, but just get ready for, like, you say the sky is blue, someone's gonna be like, you idiot, it's not blue. Yeah. This is why it's, you know. So just be ready for what's going to happen. I think Facebook is great, but it's pay to play. So that's not what today's webinar is on. You want to do online leads, perfect place. You got to be ready to pay to play, have your CRM in place, and look at it that way. This is where people disagree with me. I'm not on TikTok. I have no interest in TikTok. I think it's a great way to feed your ego, but not your bank account. And I would say there are examples of agents that blew up on TikTok and it's been the best thing ever for them, but they are the 0.001%. Right. And I'd love to know, because, I know a few agents that have like hundreds of thousands on TikTok and they're selling 2 extra homes a year because of it, where you can have literally 1,000 on YouTube and sell 10 homes. So it's just, I think people go to TikTok to be entertained. If you want to build your brand there, I think it's a wonderful place to build your brand. But direct people learning, they're going to YouTube. People want to learn and be educated. They're going to YouTube. They want to be entertained. They go to TikTok. So that's just my personal opinion. By the way, I'm happy to be proven wrong. It's crowded, very crowded here. All the realtors are here saying the same stuff. None of them are on YouTube because it's more difficult and it takes longer to do. Yeah. So I have less competition.
I think what you said, Tom, on our podcast was so obvious, but it blew my mind that the difference between YouTube and all these other platforms is people go to YouTube for a search, right?
Yeah.
There's been so many times where I've seen an Instagram video, whether it was something stupid and funny or something actually educational, and I go to try to show it to somebody else an hour later and I can't find it. Right. YouTube is a platform where I can go and find the exact video I'm looking for through a quick, simple search. And that's why, of course, all these videos are named, how to do this and how to do that, and where to eat in Toronto. So
it's Google. Owns it, right? Like how can you get more powerful than that? Quick thought on Instagram. I think Instagram's great. I'm very active on Instagram, but I do think it's like all realtors just follow other realtors, and go look back at your last post and see out of the however many likes you got, how many of them were real estate agents or loan officers or whoever. You should be there. You should be active on there. But I use Instagram mostly as a place for short form content, in which my goal out of Instagram is creating realtor to realtor B2B referrals, in which people are actually connecting with you that way. It's not, you will meet new clients there as well, but for me, it's a business to business relationship platform because they're the people following me, which then takes us to YouTube, which we're going to spend some time kind of breaking this down. This is my formula for a YouTube video. I like to keep them simple. I like to keep them to the point. So I'll start with thinking of what am I going to talk about? And I'll show you in the next few slides how I figure this out. The video title is first. Then I will actually make a thumbnail sometimes, even before I make the video, because I want to know like what I'm talking about, how I'm going to feel when I'm recording this. I can show you how to make a thumbnail in 30 seconds. Then I will have my intro, like, subscribe, call to action, in which I give you guys the example of. I try my best. Sometimes I forget at the beginning. Like, let's say the topic is like, home sales are down 35%, but prices are up 2% month over month. I'd love to know, before I get started in today's video, comment below. Let me know what's happening in your area. Like, you want people to be a part of it. Comments help the algorithm then push your video further. We talked about having a calendar link of some sort in your description so people can reach out to you when they're ready. I usually have 3 main points I want to talk about. And I don't make scripts, but sometimes I'll literally put like a little sticky note below my camera with 3 bullet points of like 3 things to remind me of what to talk about. And if you want an easy way to do it, just pull up a local news article, share your screen, talk about the news article, and you don't need to, you're literally just, you're reacting. Like, react videos have become crazy big. People, weirdly enough, will like want to watch you read something live and give your opinion on it.
Wow.
And that takes up a lot of, like, that can make your video go from 2 minutes to 8 minutes by just like talking about an article. Like, here's what they said. Well, I get why they said this, but here's what I think is actually happening. Right. And the journalist already wrote the headline of the video for you. It's their job. Your title's already been written by somebody else. I would always recommend shoot in one long shoot. Never stop recording if you make a mistake. It's easier to take one big file and just cut up the ums and ahs and the mistakes, and then you have a video. I stopped doing outro with music, and I'll tell you why. I do intro with music. The first 30 seconds is light music in the background that I want it to be like when someone hears that subconsciously, they're like, oh, this is a Tom video, because that's the sound. Like hear a theme song for a show or whatever. I stopped doing the outro music because they knew the video was going to stop in like 15 or 20 seconds. So they would end early. So now it's like, I'll go over something and be like, thank you for watching. Bye. Because I want to get them to the very end, because YouTube wants to see the retention as long as it can be. I edit videos with Final Cut Pro. That's my personal way to do it. I actually do edit my own videos, which I don't necessarily recommend, but it's like my creative outlet. Honestly, it takes me like 20 minutes these days. It's not that long. And I've set up my business where I'm mostly just seller focused. So I'm not running with buyers all the time because my team has that covered. If we then break this down and kind of go into more detail here, this is my little hack for figuring out the title of your video. Go to Google and type in real estate and then your market. Like you guys can do it now. I type in real estate.
If you don't listen to anything on this webinar, listen to this, because I remember this was super impactful when you're telling us on the podcast.
Yeah. So type in like real estate, your market. So I did that, and I typed in real estate Toronto. And the first headline that came up is how much money do you need to make to afford a home in Toronto? That's a perfect YouTube video. It's like go the different property types. And it's usually like, see here, you got to make over $200,000. Like, yeah, if you buy the average home without buying any home before and jump up the entry level stuff, that's not how people are doing it. So my video on this would be like, technically, to buy the average home in Toronto, which is $1.1 million, you do need to make 200 grand a year, and you do have to have this deposit. But no one's buying that as their first property. So you start by buying this condo, and you need to make 80 grand and have this much saved, and you build equity that gets you to that one. So you're kind of like debunking the headline, right? Because the math on the headline isn't untrue. It's just not actually the way it works, right?
Right.
Second one, in Toronto real estate, a small bounce amidst uncertainty. That's okay. I would maybe look at another one, but it's just to show you what exists. And then Prince's Bridal Path house up for sale again, right? So like, I probably wouldn't make a video on that, but it's interesting. Maybe someone would like that. So if you do this right now in your market, you'll have a bunch of headlines that then becomes the title of your video. Now, these type of videos, I'll do them, I'd say once a week, but then I'm also going to do an educational video that's a bit more dry, boring content, market focused, because these videos will get you views and subscribers and likes, but then the boring ones will get you appointments. And you need to do these videos to build your channel up to a point that other people are like, oh, other people are actually watching this. I'm not the only one here. It's not weird to reach out to this person. So these ones like validate your channel, even though they're kind of fluff, but people eat this up. And then you make the boring stuff about your local market. And that's why people will watch that as well, because you've won them over with this.
So is it fair to say that you're doing two types of videos, headline videos like these and market update?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it. So this year you're going to do
rotating back and forth
videos, half and half.
Some of them, then I go, and actually my best performing video this year was a super long one. It was a 45-minute video on how to buy your first condo in Toronto, and did like 4,500 views or something, which is actually low for the channel average. But I booked like, I think 6 appointments from that video in the first week.
Nice.
And the comments were all like, thank you so much. This is really helpful. Like where the comments on these videos are like, you know, you scummy realtors, you'll say whatever to like, no, I don't care about them. Like I can, to give me that much credit, you think I can impact the market is like a really nice thing to think. That's not true. Right. But these long form ones, yeah, people will watch it, and it's crazy. They'll watch the full thing. It's 45 minutes. It's boring. But if they need it in that moment, you're the only one giving them that information. Yeah. So don't hide anything. Tell them everything. And then when they're ready, they'll reach out to you.
What do you mean by that? Don't hide anything.
Even commission. I think you should talk openly about everything you do in your business. I don't think you should hide anything behind the curtain that you can only find out if you book a meeting with me or whatever. I think like that video I just talked about is essentially my buyer presentation. You could go watch that and just totally rip off my buyer presentation. I don't care.
Right.
I'm giving you all the value. You can have it. And then because of that, you're going to feel probably that when the time comes you want to do this thing, if you don't have a prior relationship, you're going to reach out to me because I didn't hide anything from you. There's no paywall to get the next step. It's like, this is everything. I hope it helps, right?
Right.
This is kind of what thumbnails would look like for me. I try to keep them simple. So this is all done in Canva. I'll pick a background. You can see I use the same one on this one and this one. If it's an article with a headline, I'll usually like use the headline right here to grab their attention because they go to that. This one, 41% was, there was an article that 41% of all condos in Ontario were owned by investors, which is like a pretty controversial topic. So that's what that's going to look like. And this one was about affordability in Toronto. Now, this is all I do. It's like the simplest thing ever, right? Pick a background. I screenshot a photo of me from the video. I click remove background and boom, that's it. There's no Photoshop. There's no it's really easy to do. I just have like a file of 100 thumbnails. I'll go in and change. And you can still save your video. If it's not performing in the first hour, you can go in and tweak the thumbnail, tweak the title, and it can still perform pretty well. This is then what the call to action will actually take them to. So if they do decide they want to click that button and go out of their way and leave YouTube to book an appointment with me, they're left with 3 options. Buyer consultation, seller consultation, pretty straightforward. But then there's discovery call. I'd say 80% of my appointments, people book discovery call because it's less of a commitment. It's like saying you're a seller consultation is like basically saying like, okay, I'm giving you everything fine. And when you get that, my conversion rate's like 90%. But most people are a buyer or a seller, but they choose discovery call because they don't want to then tell, they don't want to tell you yet. You still got to kind of win them over on the call.
They want to
right?
make you work for it.
Yeah, but leave them 3 options. Don't give them 6 options. Don't give them 1 option. Give them 3 and they're all going to pick discovery call anyways. I didn't want to bore everyone with like gear today. I can answer that for you on Instagram on like what camera you need and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, you obviously need a camera. Yes, your iPhone will work. Steve, who I do the podcast with, I don't know if he's watching this. He said he might want to try and jump on today. He films his entire YouTube channel, which he has more subscribers than me, more views than me, is filmed on like an iPhone XR. It's like before like the 11 or something.
Wow.
His entire channel. Now he has a good microphone and good lighting, but his entire channel's so that can't be the excuse because I know it doesn't matter. It's his videos are 1080p. They look good enough. Right?
That's right.
Where like my camera's $3,000 and like I think it looks good, but it doesn't look $3,000 better, right? Like to the person watching it. I think microphone wise, if you're gonna sit at a table, like a Shure microphone is probably the way to go. I've got like the expensive one here that's got fancy audio equipment, but I think there's the USB one that plugs in the S7V or something. There we go. That's it.
Yeah, we got the cheap ones here, but the expensive ones are for the podcast.
Yeah, right. So, but these ones work great. They're great. They're like what, $300, plugs in USB, sounds really, really good. For lighting, you can get softbox lighting. Like I've got a light here, I've got a light here, and I've got a light down here that you can't see. But if you're just getting started, a ring light will do the trick. Like it will get you started. And then you need a laptop, right? So something that I'm actually doing now when I record videos is I don't record them to the camera. It's not recording to an actual like USB or micro USB. It's coming into my computer. My camera is my webcam. It's all hooked up through one system, so I don't have to then put the audio in and match it to my mouth. So I use something called for Mac computers called Ecamm Live. It's a streaming software, but everything's in one place. And then I get my video file, all my audio files, and then I can tweak them if I need to. That's also how we record our podcast. So probably similar to like, so OBS is the free version of this. You just got to go on YouTube and learn how to use it. It's a bit more complicated. But I don't like everything records to my computer. It's one file and then I edit it. So you're taking away all the like, oh, I got to do this and then this and then this. Like, make it easy on yourself. And if you have the option, like this is years in the making, this kind of setup, but have a table you can sit down where your camera always stays in the same place, your lighting's in the same place, and you can just start talking. Because if you got to set up your stuff every time, you're like, screw this. Like, I lost my motivation, you know? So that I think is really important for the gear. There's then something that we have to acknowledge, that if you start growing or make videos that people like, you will get lots of people that disagree with you. I have no problem people disagreeing with me. I'll have open conversations with them. I will never argue with them, because you're never gonna, even if you win the argument, you don't win the argument. It's an online person commenting with a name that's not even their name, right?
Yep.
Now, if they say something that is offside or start name calling, there's a beautiful button on YouTube that says hide user from channel, and they disappear and they think their comment's still there, but only they can see it. So I think this is great. I don't have to use this that often, but for people that are like, well, what if someone's really like, you know, saying terrible things, you can ask them to leave. But by the way, don't just delete people because you don't agree with what they said. Open conversation's good. It's only if they're like name calling, but
right.
It does happen. So I wanted to at least acknowledge that. This is where I would start. Now, these are not what we talked about, like the news headline videos. These are just ideas. So, you know, you can watch, if you're watching the recording, I could just say screenshot this, take a picture of it if you want. These are the evergreen videos that people will really actually find valuable. And if you get a question from a client multiple times, make a video about it. Even if you think it's obvious, I can promise you the people watching don't think it's obvious. And they'll continue
Question
to come
about
back.
like the process of buying, or once like you're under contract, or getting your offer
Anything.
accepted, any stage.
Like, if you get a common question that you're answering all the time, make a video about it. You know, like how much, like for me, it's like people ask like, well, how much down payment do I need? I'm like, okay, well, the minimum down payment is this, but you want to get to this to not have mortgage insurance. That's a video that you can just make, right? Yeah. And then you'd want to title it in a way that gets people to actually care about it. But these are the types of videos that will do really, really well. And just put your market in here, and these will do well. But you got to then sprinkle in the way I look at it, it's like, pretend you're an actor and you get a Hollywood gig that pays you $20 million. And then you figured now you can go do the movie you actually care about, which is the indie film. This is how I look at videos. My news headlines are the Hollywood gigs. People seem to care about them. Less people care about the other videos, but they're like your actual fans, right? People that actually like will come back every single week, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the mindset that you want to have when you're doing it. I don't have to tell you guys this, but I wanted to share this because we put this on YouTube as well. We started a brand new podcast channel. We do every Sunday, we release a podcast. It's not just real estate agents. It's weird for us actually, because all the YouTube people that watch it are consumers, and all the people that listen to it in their cars are realtors. So we're like trying to find this delicate balance. This is obviously, we had Matt on. I think you guys have spoke with Matt as well, but I wanted to just show you, like, this podcast is now 8 months old. I looked at the data this morning. We're well over, I think now, like 140,000 YouTube views. Now, me and Steve already had channels that had 8,000 subscribers each before we launched this. So we pushed them all here, right? So we did have a little bit of an unfair advantage, but this channel's now approaching like 1,700 subscribers. And what's crazy is that I'm having people reach out to me, and they're like referencing things I've said in a podcast episode at minute like 43. And these are clients.
Nice.
So we just like have fun with it. We always record 1 week out. We just did one this morning with Holly Carroll, actually, who I know you guys had on. Yeah. And we just have fun and we just talk about it. And our podcast, realtors listen, but it's not for realtors. It's for consumers. And it's just crazy to see how this has grown, and how, although you want to build the actual following on the podcast apps, like YouTube is rewarding long form content, right? So this is a channel that is, and again, this is actually like I should have updated this, but you know, they paid us like $500 now. We've done 121,000. The watch hours in the last 7 months equates to 2.28 years of someone watching me and Steve talk about real estate.
Wild.
Crazy. Like, and that's just so when you hear those numbers, you're like, holy shit. I could knock on 1,000 doors the rest of my life and I'd never get to that many people.
Right. Right.
So this is the long game though, right? All this is 6 months from now. This isn't now business. This is like you put it in place. And what you guys are doing is really smart too, because even if yours is realtor focused, you're building networks all across North America and you're becoming the known people in your market, right?
Right.
So
Tom, talk to us about your scheduling process. So do you already know what you're filming this week or next week? Like, do you have a schedule planned out with the headlines, the market updates, or are you sort of going week by week going, all right, what do I have to talk about next week?
it's kind of a mix of both. Like I've got a note app on my phone, right? That I will just plug in stuff when I have an idea. Or if I see a headline, I'll put it into there. So I usually have a pretty good idea. Like I'm flying to Europe tomorrow. So my next 3 videos I've already pre-recorded and are scheduled to post when I'm gone because I don't want the interruption. But normally I wouldn't do that much ahead. I'm usually about a week ahead.
Sure.
But a lot of it's off the cuff where I've got an idea, or the videos that are longer, like the full guides or the, everything you need to know before you do this or that or whatever. Those take a long time to record. So it just depends on the week.
Right. How do we make a market update video that's not boring? Now,
Okay.
I know actually you coined yourself, I think on the podcast, you're like, I'm maybe you didn't call yourself the king, but you're like, I'm really good at boring videos, right?
Yeah.
And we know that market update videos are boring. How many days on market, year over year, and all that stuff. But how do you make it exciting or at least somewhat interesting?
So, I think it's how you hook them right away, right? So look at a number in your market update that you think is interesting. So, an example for us would be like, even though the condo market is doing okay right now, 70% of the sales happening are between 500,000 and 700,000. 70%. So perhaps it's something along the lines of, did you know that out of all the condos that have sold this year, 70% of them are in $200,000 price cap? So that's kind of the hook. You could also flip it and go more of the negative side of like, did you know that if you're trying to sell a condo in Toronto right now over $1 million, you're only looking at 6% of active buyers in that price point? So that's kind of how I would start the update. And I still think people like the numbers, and I'll share my screen and go over the numbers, but that part is boring. Where I find you get people is if you give real life stories without like leaving out property addresses and names, obviously.
Sure.
Where you're like, even though multiple offers are back now, it's the same term, but it means something different than it did before. Because now it's selling over asking, but not 150 grand over asking. It's selling 20 grand over asking. And multiple offers could mean 2 offers, or it could mean 30 offers, right? Like that's a wide gap.
Sure.
So kind of like breaking things down for people, I find they like that. And it makes it a little bit less boring than just like reading the numbers.
Yeah.
And
As we're
you
narrowing
touched
down
upon
for the
this.
last 10 minutes.
What's
if
that?
anybody has any questions, put it in the chat box and we'll shoot them at Tom as well. As we're going through
I
this.
can't be the only one asking questions here. So guys, put in your questions on the chat
John made
box.
this a therapy. He was like, I got to know these questions because these are questions we've always been thinking about too. And
Sure.
part of like that thumbnail issue is like a big thing that we kept going over. And I was happy when you said that was one of the first things that you go through, like even before you create the content, just so that way it's like an ad, right? What's going to catch the person, and then from there you can create the content behind that. We were doing the inverse so often, right?
Right.
Which is helpful to know. In terms of when you're making like certain hooks, one of the marketing guys that were doing like pay-per-clicks on Facebook, he asked me to make a value prop video, but not something that's braggadocious like you were saying, but something that's actually beneficial to an end user. And I just want to try this out and selfishly ask this while people are putting in their questions. If it's hard, like one of the biggest concerns today is buyers are complaining there's lack of inventory or lack of options. And who you work with matters more, whether it's a first-time home buyer or an investment property, because 40% of properties that trade tend to trade off market. Is that a good hook to give to try to capture a buyer, in your opinion?
Yeah, the only thing I would add to it is something along the lines of like, are you tired of being told that the market has changed, but you still can't find any properties that make sense for you? Something along the lines of that, like validating their issue and almost like digging the knife in, being like, yes, that is exactly. And then being like, well, a lot of those are actually trading off market. And our team is very active in the exclusive space. And we actually have a list of all the off-market properties in this area at this price point. If you want that list, just throw your email below. We'll get it over to you as fast as possible. So I think you just have to trade them something for their email.
Yeah. I think one thing that you do very, very well, and we've had some of social media coaches, right, where they talk about making eye contact with the camera, talking to the people behind the camera that are watching you instead of talking at them, right? You're talking to them. You do a really, really good job of doing that, which captures, I guess, the interest and gets the engagement going even more. But it's not something that's like second nature to think about. It's almost like you have to shift that perspective, and it takes a lot of work to do that too. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
we do have a question here from Edgar's Brifsk. Hey, Tom, when you shoot a new video, do you edit it in the same day?
Edgar's, by the way, I will get back to your email you sent me today. I'm not dodging you. Yes, I do. I edit it immediately after. I want to get it done, wrapped up, scheduled in YouTube, ready to post at the time that I want. So once I'm done shooting, I just sit in the same place, turn off my camera, and start editing right away.
Yes. Next question is from Lighthouse Residential. Do you run targeted ads on your YouTube channel?
I don't. So not saying that you shouldn't, just I can't talk on it. The only one I've done is there's a 30-second unlisted video I have where I have a partnership with Scott McGilvery. He's like our version of your Property Brothers. Like he's like the HGTV guy.
Nice.
I've got an ad of him basically talking me up. That will run as pre-roll on some other people's YouTube videos, right? But what I found is that will get you a lot of views. But if they only watch the first 2 seconds of it, it will actually hurt your channel in that the retention that YouTube sees, if they only watch 10% of the video, it then hurts your total channel stats. But I haven't really, but for the actual videos I post, I'm not putting any money behind them. But not to say that you shouldn't. I've never experimented with that.
Do any of your topics come from other realtors? Like I find sometimes I'm watching reels or YouTube shorts and I'll see a realtor do something. And a lot of times, I don't know if this makes me sound arrogant, but I'm like, I could do that one a lot better. Do you ever watch ones where you're like, hey, I like that topic, but I would take this twist, or I could do it better, or here's my version of it?
Totally. I mean, I think as long as you're doing it in your own way, no one owns a topic. No one owns that headline. No one, I think you can do it your own way. The one thing you don't want to get into, and this has happened to me, it's kind of funny, like my team members will send it, is there's a few people that will literally take my video, get it transcribed, and then make their own version of it and read it line for line. Even when I say something that's not grammatically correct, they'll leave it in. I'm like, gotcha. Don't do that. But yeah, no one owns an idea. You can talk. Yeah, absolutely. Just have your own spin on it.
Nice.
Use your own words is probably what I should say.
For YouTube Shorts, would you create a specific thumbnail for that as well? Or does that not matter as much for Shorts?
Unless it has changed, I currently don't believe YouTube allows you to pick your thumbnail for Shorts. They pick a random one for you. I hope that updates soon, because normally it's the worst, my mouth is half open or something.
Yeah.
How much thought do you put into the caption below and tags?
So I am lazy in the fact that I'll go into my channel settings and set up all the tags that I want, so they're defaults in every video I post. And then also my description, which is always remaining the same thing. If you want to connect, there's 3 ways we can connect. 1, book an appointment. 2, check out my podcast. Or 3, check out this partnership we have. That remains the same for every single video.
Are you using AI at all to help you come up with ideas, topics?
I hadn't until literally like yesterday, I recorded a video and it was called like, how to solve the housing crisis, basically. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of boring title. Like I was like 5 things you could do right now that would actually change this, but the government never will. So I asked ChatGPT and it was like unveiling the secret 5-step process to slash Canadian housing prices overnight. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think,
By the
yeah,
way, you
use it as,
didn't sound Canadian until you said process.
yeah, there we go. Yeah. What do you say? Process?
There you go.
I lean towards process.
Okay, fair enough.
It's certain words that your accent comes through, but of course, just busting on you.
Yeah. So I've played around with it, but for the most part, it's I'm just using the headline.
Got it.
Great.
And
And is there any?
doing-
Go ahead, Kira.
For anybody doing podcasts, what's a good funnel strategy to do? Is it one thing that we're toying with is doing shorts, then medium form content, then actual the whole big thing? Is there like a strategy that you would recommend for anybody to use?
Yeah, I mean, like we're still kind of learning and going through this. But the long form videos are obviously they go onto the YouTube channel, they go to the podcast apps. We have an editor that's going in every week and cutting up 7 shorts from our main channels and the podcast. So then those go as shorts on the podcast channel. You obviously see the trend of like the clips channels, right? Where they take the 5-minute clip from that. We haven't gotten there yet, but that's probably the next logical step because everyone consumes it in their own ways. And even a lot of like podcasts that I like or like have heard things from or reference to, I'm like, I didn't actually watch that episode. I watched that 30-second moment and then like got what I needed and left. So yeah, I think all 3 are very smart ways to look at it because you never know what's going to hit.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. All right, awesome.
Awesome.
Any other questions as we close out? Put them in. I know there's like a 30-second lag before we get to see it on our side. And Tom, while we're waiting on that, is if somebody wants to reach out to you, best way to collaborate with you, ask any questions.
Yeah. So on Instagram, we're at the Storey team, but Storey is spelled Storey. That's probably the best place to go and just send me a DM.
Sweet. We're gonna
Awesome.
make sure we put that information below. If you found this valuable, guys, go ahead, like and subscribe, and reach out to Tom's new podcast. What was the name of the podcast, Tom?
Okay, this is gonna blow you away. Ready? The Tom Storey Show.
There you go.
Boom. Boom. And definitely take a look. Our episode, Light It Up podcast with Tom Storey as a guest should be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Cool.
That episode is awesome, which is, of course, is what inspired us to have you on here today. So I'm sure everybody found this wildly valuable. Thank you so much, man, for spending some time with us today. And we really, really do appreciate your time. And we look forward to collaborating with you in the future.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. That was fun. This will take work, but I can promise if people are willing to put in the work, you will get results from this. But it's more difficult than just making a TikTok. Like you gotta commit and do it and build it in your schedule and actually, because you're not going to get that result right away. But then once it starts clicking, it's like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, when you started saying that before, it's sort of like, those people that will call for sale by owners for 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then say, oh, well, I couldn't connect with anybody. Right. You have to do it consistently over time. You're planting seeds every day. So it's like anything else in this business. You have to do it consistently every week. Go ahead.
If you want a real wake up call, go into your database and look at all the leads you haven't heard from for a while and just send them a text or an email and say, hey, did you end up buying in whatever market it was? And half they're gonna get back and be like, yeah, we did. And they're like, okay, they did, not with you. So like they just weren't ready because you gave up and someone else stepped in and gave them the information they needed, right?
Yeah. The beautiful thing about video is that you can repurpose it in so many different forms. It just really depends on how intentional you are with it. And the one thing I really respect and appreciate about what you've done is that you took the intentionality of it and, put it to the top and really made it work to your benefit exactly what you wanted to. It wasn't just throwing shit on the wall consistently. It's like you had a formula and a plan and you executed on it exactly how it is. So definitely getting Ecamm live, definitely getting that book. And definitely subscribing to your new podcast. I hope it succeeds wildly. And
Awesome.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much,
me.
man.
And I hope people found some value.
Oh, yeah.